Shalom Aleichem. Mishnah Yomi today is wrapping up chapter 4 of Shevuot. We're on Mishnah 13, finishing up the topic of Shevuot Edut, of an oath imposed on potential witnesses that they don't know any testimony in this case, and when they're liable for violating that oath if in fact they knew. Here's 13. Mashbia ani Aleichem. The litigant says, I want you to swear, I'm imposing an oath on you. Or he says, Mitzove ani Aleichem. I'm commanding you, like Lashon mitzvah. Or he says, Oserchem ani, I am binding you. Now the Mefarshim point out in the Gemara on page 35, he has to actually say with a shvuah. So then hare elu chayavin. If they make a shvuah based on these variations in wording, then that is good enough. If he says bashamayim uvaretz, I want you to make an oath by heavens and earth. If you don't know testimony, hare elu peturin. They are pater. Heavens and earth, it sounds nice, it sounds powerful, but it's not the lashon of a shvuah with the name of Hashem. But the Mishnah contrasts be'alef dolit. If he's using the name, what we call shem adnut, how we pronounce the name, even though it's written with a yud and a hey, but if the way it's pronounced, that's good enough if the oath has that name, or biyud and hey, if it's the other name of Hashem, or variations of this, of course. B'Shaddai, he uses this name. We commonly say Shakai, it means almighty, but I'm reading the Mishnah, so if the Mishnah says B'Tzvaot means like the Lord of hosts. B'Hanun, the gracious one. Lashon Chen, Rahum, the merciful one. Be'erech Apayim, the one who is slow to anger. Rav Hesed, the one who has great kindness. B'Kol HaKinuim, any of the nicknames of God. Hare elu chayavin. So if the witnesses swear using a nickname for God, saying by the merciful one or the like, that is good enough to be a binding oath. The hamekalel, and someone who curses another individual, bekulan, with any of these nicknames or official names, chayav, they are liable for cursing, divri Rabbi Meir, according to Rabbi Meir. The chachamim potrim, the other sages, say exempt, unless someone's using an actual official name of Hashem, not just a nickname or a descriptive term. Hamakol aviv ve'imo bekulan, if God forbid someone curses his father or mother with any of these names or nicknames, chayav divrei Rabbi Meir, again he says he's liable. We learned in Sanhedrin, that's even a capital offense. The chachamim pochim, again the sages say they're pater unless they use the official name of Hashem. Hamakol atzmo v'chaver bekulan, someone curses himself or his fellow man using any term, even if it is a nickname, over below taseh. This is a violation of a negative commandment. The sages might not execute this person unless he uses the official name of God, but using any of these nicknames is completely inappropriate and banned by the Torah. Now the Mishnah goes back from the topic of insulting people and cursing people to Shevuot Edut. If he says, Yakacha Elohim, may God strike you if you don't come and bear witness in my case. Chen Yakach Elohim, or here's certain psukim in the Torah that contain curses, like in Devarim chapter 28, there are all these curses and disasters that Hashem is going to send upon the Jews that happened in the past, happened thousands of years ago, as a punishment, of course, so they would do tshuva and return to God, but someone recites these curses from the Torah, and then he says to the witnesses, and Hashem's going to do the same to you if you don't come testify in my case, and then they make an oath that they don't know. Zohi ala ketuva b'Torah. They would be liable because this is the Allah, which also means curse, that's written in the Torah. And actually, right there at the beginning of Vayikra, of Leviticus chapter 5, it says, Nefesh ki tirata v'shema kol Allah. It says about these Eidim, if they hear a kol Allah. Now, kol just means a voice. The person's asking them to testify, demanding an oath. And Allah also means a curse. So if they hear a curse, the guy's saying, I'm going to curse you if you don't swear, you don't know testimony, that's good enough to be a binding oath. If he says, Al Yakacha, Hashem won't hit you, and instead he'll bless you, Hashem will do good for you. So this is the person who wants testimony saying, listen, if you come and testify, it's going to be good for you. Rabbi Meir Mechayev. Rabbi Meir says they are liable if they make an oath in response to this, because he says, he says, what the guy's saying is, Hashem's going to bless you if you come and testify, and the implication is, you're going to get the opposite if you don't come testify. The sages say they are exempt, that we don't say an implied curse functions as a curse to make a binding oath. Rabbi Meir reminds us of the Mishnah in Sota, where they list the curses that will befall the sota, and some of them are actually imply the opposite, imply a blessing. Let's go on to chapter 5. Shevuot hapikadon, the oath of a deposit. We're going to see this is when someone deposited an item with someone else and wants to get it back, and the person is making some sort of claim that they no longer have it or it never was deposited. So Shevuot hapikadon neheget b'anoshim v'noshim applies to men and women, b'rchokim v'krovim, whether they're related or non-relatives, b'ksherim psulim, whether they are fit to testify in court, as we discussed in the last chapter, or they are gamblers the like and they're not fit to testify in court. Bifnei beitin shelo bifnei beitin, whether they're in court or not in court at the time of the oath. Mipi atzmo, if he volunteered to make the oath himself. Mipi acherim, or the court is telling him to make the oath. Eino chayiv ad sheyichbar bo beveitin, but he's not obligated for violating this oath unless he denies having the item in court. Divrei Rabbi Meir. That's according to Rabbi Meir, at least. The Chachamim Omrim, the other sages say, Bein mipi atzmo, whether the oath comes voluntarily from his own mouth, Bein mipi acherim, or they're telling him to make the oath, Keivan shekafar bo, once he's denied it, even before he gets to court, chayiv. If it turns out he was lying, he still had the deposited item, and he was lying when he made the oath, he is liable even if he made the oath before they got to court. V'chayev, and he's liable for breaking his oath, al zdon hashvua, if he intentionally makes this false oath. He knows he's lying, and he knows there's a penalty. Al shigagat im zadon hapikadon, and if he wasn't intending to violate his oath, but he was intending to deny having the deposited item, he was trying to steal it for himself, eino chayev al shigagota, but he's not liable if he actually really truly forgot that he was given this item, he forgot that he was still holding on to it. Umechayev al zadono, and what is he liable if he purposely violated his Shevuot hapikadon? He denies having this item, and he really did. Asham bekesef shkolim. He needs to bring an asham, a guilt offering in the temple that costs at least 2 silver shekel. And this asham is actually stated in Vayikra chapter 5, pasuk 25, and it's learned out the asham me'ilah also has to be 2 kesef, as we'll learn later. Sei gesund.